Welcome to Sacramento Film Works, where we bring to you all things film. I'm Craig DeLuz.
And I'm Amy Henry. We are so glad that you've joined us today. We've got a really exciting show, The Composer. That's right, we're going to be talking about music and film. So hang tight, we'll be right back.
Sacramento Film Works is sponsored by the Northern California Filmmakers Coalition, which provides filmmakers an opportunity to learn and network with film industry professionals from throughout the Sacramento region. Join us each Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Access Sacramento, 4623 T Street, Suite A, Sacramento, California. We'll see you at the movies. Welcome back. You know, Amy, it's one thing to watch a movie and to see action and drama and all of that, but nothing brings out those emotions like quality music.
That's so true, because I'm a fan of the silent movies, but I absolutely think that music makes a difference. I mean, it helps to tell the story. It moves your heart.
Most definitely. And with us today, we have an Emmy-winning composer.
Yeah.
But before we introduce him, we want to give you a chance to see a quick clip from one of his projects. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alex Wilkinson.
Yes.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Alex, just tell us, how did you get into composing music for film?
Well, there's a bit of a story, but I started when I was 3 playing the drums to none other than the Beatles.
Of course.
Playing on garbage cans. And that just inspired me so much. I was later in high school orchestras playing the drums and continued and went into bands. And in the bands, none of the guys could write tunes. So I picked up guitars and strummed it because I could hear it in my head. Learned how to play it and would write the good songs for the bands, which was it was pretty rewarding to do that, because most drummers in those days didn't really write tunes, and many of them don't now. But I later, after high school, got a job at a very prestigious recording studio called the Record Plant. And I was an assistant engineer, and I got to work on things like Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, the Allman Brothers, so many bands, great producers. And I learned how the big boys did their recording, how they were able to take these crazy musicians and compile their stuff into a fantastic album. And sometimes it took a year and a half. These guys were in the studio every day. And so I honed my craft on how to record, and I was still writing, and my goal was to compose music for film and television. And getting there, no director or producer is going to hire somebody who has never composed music for a film. And if the directors and producers have paid $1 million for the film, they're not going to hire a first-time composer. And I learned that after trial and error. So I thought to myself, okay, I got to have a plan here. So my plan was, I am going to be a sound man, because I had the credentials, I had the knowledge with my sound background. I'm going to be a sound man for movies, and that way I'll be able to meet the directors and the producers. And once I know them a little bit, maybe they'll listen to my music and give me a shot. And I worked on several films. And unfortunately, when you're a sound man and you're on the set with these guys, 12, 14 hours a day for 2 months at a time, 3 months at a time, and then you tell them you want to play music for them, they look at you with tunnel vision, and all they can see is the fact that you're the sound man.
So you were typecast.
So I was typecast.
Oh,
I was
man.
typecast. And so after about a half dozen movies, I realized that wasn't happening. So, still with my sound background, I approached some post-production studios and wanted to become a music editor.
Okay.
And I got a job as a music editor. And I was working on some great shows, such as Little Mermaid, Goof Troop, Aladdin, Darkwing Duck. I mean, just lots and lots of great shows. And as a music editor, sometimes you get to work with the composers. Because my job as a music editor, because a lot of people don't know what a music editor does, to make a long story short, my involvement was, here's an example. Let's say they're shooting Darkwing Duck. They hire, and there's 100 episodes. They hire the composer to score 25 of those episodes. And in each episode, there's probably 20 different pieces of music. My job was to take those 25 episodes, categorize each piece of music that was scored for those episodes, and then puzzle the rest of the 70 episodes together with the existing music
Oh,
that
wow.
I have.
Wow.
So when there's an action scene and they're running, I probably have 10 choices. And for these companies, you have to make it seamless. It has to sound like it was scored.
Right.
So it takes a week of 10 hours a day to piece together a 23-minute show and make it flawless. And I did that for a while. And what I was fortunate and serendipitous enough to have happen was sometimes they didn't have the music that they needed in that music that they scored that I was working with. So what I would do is I would write the piece of music myself, and I would call the composer, and I'd say, "Hey John, would you like to, there's no music for this scene, we're stuck, and I know that you're on 3 other shows, and I've composed something that'll probably work for this. Would you give it a listen?" They knew me, they knew that I was working on their shows, trusted me, and they listened to it, and they said, "Okay, that's going in the show."
Wow.
And I continued to do that. And I continued to make a name for myself by doing that. And the composers, after a while, they would, sometimes if they were too busy and there was a smaller show or something like that, they would throw it my way. And so that is how I was able to get into composing music for film. So you have to have a plan. Nobody's just going to hire you to be a composer if you don't have any experience. And music editing was a great experience. It taught me exactly things that I already knew that I believed I knew. Well, it solidified that to where I could trust myself, and that's a really important thing. You can't compose music if you don't trust what you're doing and have big belief in what you're about to undertake.
That takes me into my next question, which is, when you're looking at a film, when you're looking at a project, how do you determine, what music or what style of music or instruments are appropriate for a particular project? How do you go about
That's a great question. And many projects are different. It's not always the same. Sometimes the director will put a temp track on there for you to listen to. And that makes it hard, especially if it's a lower budget film and he puts Jerry Goldsmith and John Williams music on there. It's like, and they don't have the budget for an orchestra.
Yeah.
It's like that makes it tough, and that's
Right.
what they want. And then the more they listen to that temp track, the more they become married to that
Right.
temp track.
Yeah.
So then whatever you give them has to be really super, super good for them to
Get that out of
get
there.
that out of their
Yeah.
head. And so the process to do that, sometimes the directors will have ideas, sometimes they won't. As far as instrumentation goes, I like to work with orchestral sounds and orchestras and live players and some everything from classical to rock and roll, but in the movie business, that movie we just watched there, as an example, one minute you're in France, and the next minute you're in San Francisco, and the next minute you're in Italy. And when they're in Italy having dinner, you better have your Italian music chops down. And so wherever you go, and the next minute they could be on the moon.
Right.
And so it varies a great deal.
Well, is it true also that nowadays, correct me, please, if I'm wrong, because we want to be educated here.
Yeah.
There used to be a time when there was money for orchestras and musicians, but nowadays it's like one band man, and there's not a whole lot of emphasis there, which to me sometimes can make a difference on the sound or the quality.
It does make a huge difference.
So is that what's happening now?
Well, for the biggest movies that there are, like I'm sure the new Star Wars movie coming out is going to have a real orchestra.
Sure.
But for all the rest of them, if you can, and what I like to do to try to compensate for that lack of orchestra is, if I write a piece of music and let's say the main lead instrument happens to be a trumpet, well, if I can at least get my hands on a trumpet player,
Okay.
record his live feel to that, because it makes such a great difference, and then blend that in with my samples and
Got it.
orchestra sounds I have, then it begins to be believable.
Right.
So I do that with flutes, I'll do that with woodwinds, and strings are a little more difficult because you have to have a couple dozen of them to make that really fly.
Right.
Fantastic. Well, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back with more of composer Mr. Alex Wilkinson.
To become a part of our live studio audience and to meet and greet film industry professionals, visit our website at www.ncfc.tv.
Ask you, how does one prepare themselves to be an effective composer? I mean, what are the kind of some of the tricks of the trade that you use?
Tricks.
Tricks of the trade that I use. Well, you have to really love film music, first of all. You have to believe that you have to have some music knowledge, and then you have to really believe that you can pull it off.
Right.
And to prepare yourself for it, getting the job will help you prepare yourself for it.
This is basically trial by fire.
Somewhat, yes. But,
Okay.
I mean, you have to have a lot of... I prepared myself by all those things that I explained to you earlier that I did, and that really helped prepare me for it. Each different project that you get will have a different set of needs and a different set of circumstances, and sometimes they might want a hard rock score. And then I've got to prepare myself by getting myself into that groove and watching the picture and trying to understand why the director wanted rock and roll there. And usually they have a vision, and there are many times they really are right. So you have to work with them, make it happen, and when they are wrong, you have to trust yourself and be very gracious about how you let them know that you feel like this love scene doesn't need a screeching, heavy rock and roll guitar. Maybe we could use some of this, and here's my idea. And you prepare that idea before you even show him that. And if he says no, then you get another piece of music to put in your music library.
So in other
So
words,
it's not lost.
yeah. So in other words, you kind of, they say this is the emotion we're trying to get, and you say, okay, this is the music that's going to get you that emotion along with the scene.
That's right.
So I would imagine also that you kind of have to have some thick skin because, you know, I was telling you earlier, I mean, I have music in my blood. It's just in our family. My husband's a musician, all that. And you can get really married to what you create.
Yes, you can.
But if a director says, you know, I like that, that's fine, but I was really kind of going for this, then you have to be flexible, is what I'm hearing.
Well, you have to have an extra heart in your back pocket, because once he breaks your heart, then you just got to pull the other one out and put it in and just be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Rip it out
And
of
it
your
does
chest.
happen, and it does rip it out of your chest, and you just have to bite your tongue. And I've had it happen where I actually finished what he wanted. He kind of rejected what I did. I finished what he wanted, and then everybody else didn't like what he wanted to do, and then I got to put mine back in. And then all of a sudden the director said, "Wow, that's fantastic."
And you're going to go, really?
Switching gears a little bit.
Sure.
You know, being an Emmy Award winner, I mean, there's in this industry, I don't know that there's a bigger award than winning an Emmy.
Yeah.
Could you share with us briefly, kind of like, what was that experience like for you?
Well, to realize that I was nominated, which was a fantastic thing, and it's not only an Emmy I've won 2 Golden Reels and had 7 Golden Reel nominations, and each nomination that you get is just a wonderful feeling. It's people who you work with recognizing your talents and nominating you, and that's just a great thing when that happens. And I'm very proud of the Emmy and the Golden Reels that I've won. It's kind of like almost unbelievable, but it's just really, really great, and it helps you prepare for your next film, as we talked about earlier. It just gives you the confidence and the trust that you need in yourself to do this.
Yeah.
Because as a composer, you're pretty much by yourself.
Yeah.
Most of the other things in the film business, you're not just by yourself. Composer's in a room waiting for the director to come in once a week and scrutinize his stuff and tell him he loves it, or fix this or fix that, or no fixes at all, great week, let's go on. And so it really is comforting to know that your peers and people who you work with are satisfied and happy enough to nominate you. So it's a great feeling.
So if folks want to follow your work, get to know a little bit more about you, what projects you're working on, how can they find you online?
They can find me at vmimusic.com. Pretty easy to remember that. vmimusic.com. That's my website. I have lots of my music on there. I have a lot of music for licensing. So if somebody can't afford a composer and they need to find some music, I've got a big variety of music. Maybe they'll find a piece of music that'll just work for their project.
Okay.
All right.
And that's vmimusic.com, and my other contact information is on there.
Fantastic. Well, everybody, Mr. Alex Wilkinson.
Yes. Very good.
Thank you.
Sacramento Film Works is done in partnership with Access Sacramento. It airs on the first Saturday of each month on Comcast Channel 17 and AT&T Uverse Channel 99.
And welcome back. We're so glad that you've joined us. Now, if you're just tuning in, this is the section of our show where we get a chance to highlight someone that's in the local area, whether it's Sacramento or maybe a little bit further. But I'm really, really excited to be able to introduce to you someone that I've just had a chance to meet. But this is going to be an exciting piece of our show. We are here with Mr. Trevor Smith, and Trevor is the executive director of an organization called Disruptive Media Academy. Welcome, Trevor Smith, with us.
Thank you very much.
Trevor,
I'm excited
welcome.
to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so what caught me right away was the name Disruptive.
Disruptive.
So is that kind of the foundation of...
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me what the main goal of the Academy is.
If you look at people that are getting involved in film and media, the lines are so long to get discovered or to get your big break, you know, to where even people with so much talent, they wait in these lines going through the traditional system,
Right.
the traditional way of submitting, hoping your stuff gets read, hoping your stuff is going to be made, all that kind of stuff. We said, forget all about that. Because my life experience, me going through this process, I've learned that for me and the people that I'm encouraging, go out and do it yourself. Okay, you can go through those messages or go through those methods. You can send out your scripts. You can try to do what the system tells you to do.
Right.
But I'm encouraging people, do it yourself. Find somebody with a camera, because I know from experience, my own experiences of being able to put out feature films, is find somebody with a camera that you can connect with, somebody that has your personality, can
Right.
see your vision, that type of deal. Find somebody that has some lights. Find somebody, and you guys work together to accomplish that goal. You see what I'm saying? It's not
Absolutely.
everybody for himself. Work together to accomplish the goal, so you all have something to show someone.
So
see?
you all have projects already up and running that
Right.
if someone is interested in writing or they're interested in editing, they just contact you and say, this is what I do, and you're able to hook them up with a project that you guys have got going and allow them to learn or use their talents right away.
Right.
So are there classes that are involved with
Yes,
it? Okay.
yes. Disruptive Media Academy offers the classes, so we do writing classes to where a project that we recently worked on called 3 Minutes Apart. It's a short film that, it's a 2-month program that we had our kids go through, and they paid $84. Hello.
Wow.
You know, $84 for a 2-month program. We wrote the script in the class. We taught them how to use the camera. We taught them how to do lighting, and we went out and shot the project. So we're not just talking about us going through something and working on something and saying, "Well, I learned this, and that, whatever." We're giving people something to show because we want them to end up with a final product, you know,
Sure.
and a final project that they can show people. Because
Yeah.
in order to get work, you have to
You
have something
have
to show people.
You do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about one of the projects that we're going to see in just a few minutes that you guys have put together.
Well, right now, if you're showing the clip that I had submitted, that movie is called Unbelievers. Okay. Unbelievers, the movie, and I brought this for you and for Craig, so you guys
Yay!
can have that.
Awesome.
I'm obviously sporting it like Superman, do my thing or whatever. So anyway, so I got that
Unbelievers.
underneath, but it's called Unbelievers, and this is my
Love
first
it.
project with a budget.
Well, let's take a look, if we can, just for
Oh,
a couple of
absolutely.
minutes
Yeah.
at Unbelievers, the movie.
This is the teaser for Unbelievers.
This is the
movie.
teaser, so
Yes.
we'll take a look at that.
You can only run for so long. Sooner or later, everyone runs out of places to hide. I'm scared. We are slaughtered in the name of peace. And then things got really bad.
8-ball corner pocket.
The time is coming. Prepare yourself.
Well, I don't want us to leave you without being able to tell folks how do they get involved with Disruptive Media? Where do they go to find you?
Well, we're really easy. Disruptive Media, you can just go on the website or go on our website. It's disruptivema.org, so Disruptive Media Academy, disruptivema.org.
Okay.
Just look on the website. It has information about upcoming classes.
Okay.
Right now, what we're doing is, because we're working on so many different projects, I'll post when we have a project that's coming up. And then people can look at, oh, I want to get involved in camera work. I want to get involved with lighting. And then we'll snatch those people, let them know which project's coming up and where, and we'll have them go to where we're going to be shooting, and we'll let them hold a light stand. We'll explain to them how the light works, with your 3-point lighting or 4-point lighting or whatever. And we explain all these things as we go along, and stuff. So anyway, that's kind of our process.
That is great. Ladies and gentlemen, Trevor Smith, welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you, and we really do wish you the best.
Awesome.
To keep up to date on Sacramento area film industry news or to view previous episodes of Sacramento Film Works, simply go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/NCFC TV, or you can connect with our YouTube channel by going to our website at ncfc.tv.
Well, that's it for this episode. Sacramento Film Works is a project of the Northern California Filmmakers Coalition in partnership with Access Sacramento. We'd like to thank our spotlight guest, Mr. Trevor Smith, and our industry expert, Mr. Alex Wilkinson. I'm Craig DeLuz.
And I'm Amy Henry. Thank you so much for joining us. This was really, really informative. Not a whole lot of people get a chance to hear the inside workings of what it is to be a composer. So we're glad you joined us. This is Sacramento Film Works, where we show you how film works. See you, everybody.
See you later.